is a servant in the service of humanity. Just like doctors. You understand me? Yes, the practice of law also entails that you must also factor in the business of law practice. But again, you are operating within the society. Your ultimate responsibility is to ensure there's order, peace and order in the society. Is to ensure that there is respect for constitutionalism. Is to also be an officer in the temple of justice. That's your primary role. And in fulfilling that primary responsibility, you should not make funding or money to be your major objective.
Okay, now let's go to the bench.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the judges. How can they, in this case, with this administration of criminal acts that we have, how can they also do better to make sure that access to justice is smoother?
The man at the bench is in control of his court. And it depends on his individual, I wouldn't say idiosyncrasy, his individual approach to procedures. He decides to a large extent the speed at which cases are adjudicated. Some judges, and by extension, I mean some judicial officers, magistrates and the rest of them, will not tolerate unnecessary adjournments, for instance. They will not. And they will not tolerate all those shortcut measures to prolong matters and to prolong dispensation of justice. And that is why some time ago, the former Chief Justice of the Federation, Lama Mukhtar, tried to set a standard, a measurable standard for judges and for judicial officers. And such standard was to the fact that at least a judge must give 3 judgments, at least 3 judgments in a year, so that a matter must start and end. If you're able to give at least 3 judgments in a year, which by now, I want to believe, if adequate infrastructure is put in place, when I mean infrastructure, good judicial court environment, that you have a good recording system and good aids, good hands that will work with judicial system, the sheriff and the court marshals that will be up and going, because these are all issues that tend to delay quick dispensation of justice. But in measurable terms, the learned CJN gave such standard that if you are able to give at least 3 judgments in a year, then you can pride yourself that you are doing well. But with the coming of age of Nigeria, and with this new law, this new act, we expect that such measure will be stepped up. Maybe 5 judgments minimum, maybe 6 judgments minimum in a year. And it is in order to avoid such prolonged delay that the Electoral Act has taken care of that issue and said within 180 days, you must dispense with any electoral petition. Yeah. Within 180 days. Times was in this country when a matter would drag for 4 years. The tenure is over and the actual winner had not accessed his office. But these days, within 180 days. And in order to bring it to fruition, some measures were put in place. There were some adjustments, even in the way and manner that INEC operates. These days, it is whatever INEC brings as a certified true copy of their election result, that is what the court looks at. You can bring results from all manner of places, and the court will not listen to that. So that means that INEC has been strongly strengthened, and there must be sanctions.
So what happens in that case? What happens where INEC is compromised?
That's why I'm saying there must be sanction when INEC is compromised, because the compromise is as a result of corruption, and for every corrupt activity there must be sanction.
If I may intervene with respect to the issue of, in addition to what my learned friend has just said, for the judiciary, the bench, to be able to assist this process, particularly in the light of the new law, we need our judges to have a sense of a sense of duty, a sense of justice, a sense of balance,
If I may come in here.
a sense of integrity,
I was going to ask you a question.
and a sense of timeliness.
The NJC, the role of the NJC in all of this. I mean, last week the NJC was quoted as saying 3 judges have been summoned from 2 states because of their performance level. Now, in some other states, they refused the nomination of about 2 or 3 judges because, according to the NJC, they were ignorant of basic laws.
You see,
so what's the role? How will the NJC help in all of this, enhancing the role of the bench in the administration of justice?
That's exactly part of what the NJC is expected to do, is what they have started doing. Because a judge is supposed to be a repository of knowledge. A judge should not be lacking in terms of basic knowledge of the law. Counsel is to assist the judge. The judge knows better than is presumed to know better than counsel. So if a judge does not have knowledge about the law, it's a disservice, it's a calamity to the bench.
How's he going to perform?
You understand me? So knowledge is very critical. Yeah. But what also drives the process beyond knowledge is integrity.
Exactly.
Integrity. If a judge is lacking in integrity, such a person is a liability to the system. And then you must also have control over the proceedings of your court.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm telling you that all of these problems that we identify concerning lack of access to justice is because there are no consequences. Because there must be consequences, a regime of consequences in place to deal with errant judges, to deal with errant counsel when they use the machinery of the law, you know, to delay justice and abuse the system.
Okay, we need to bring in 1 or 2 comments here. Opinion, Mikando for real says, what about courts that they are vans to convey accused persons to the prison, to take accused persons and producing him before the duty of the police where there are no vans? Now, the transportation fare becomes an argument between the police and the complainant. Who should be responsible for the payment? He's talking about the delay in access to justice.
No, from what I understand, he's talking about conveying the accused.
Yes,
and that's about the prison's authorities.
So in this case now, how have the prison officials fared in all of this?
The prison officials in a corrupt regime, when I mean a corrupt regime, in a corrupt environment, the prison officials are very corrupt. Those ones that are very corrupt are the ones that will not maintain the vehicles that will convey accused to court. And it is a lot of disservice. It's a criminal disservice to an accused if the prison official fails to convey him to court, him or her to court, on his appointed day to face judgment. Because the earlier he goes to court, the earlier the matter is dispensed with, and the earlier the better for the society.
Can the prisoner or the man who is accused turn around and sue the prison authorities for delaying his access to justice?
I think he has the right to do that if it is habitual.
It's not just I think. I think it's a right that exists.
Yes.
And when we are talking of access to justice generally, all of these are the basic components.
Okay,
in terms of enforcement,
we're out of time, so let's look at the issue of legal awareness as we round up.
Yes.
How can we get the citizens,
the
people, the lawyers, the police, the bench, the prisons, how can we get them to be aware of this new law and begin to exercise it?
It's a stakeholder's responsibility. It's a responsibility for the executive. It's a responsibility for the legislature. It's a responsibility for the judiciary itself. It's also a responsibility for the press. And that's what you are doing here.
Yes, that's what we are doing.
Dissemination of information.
Yes.
Because once there's inadequate legal awareness of the existence of laws, that is also a denial.
Okay.
While we try to do that, it is important to mention that there is a habit that has crept into the system, the issue and the problem of issuance of dot checks. Issuance of dot check is crippling the business environment in Nigeria. There is a law against that, which prescribes a punishment of imprisonment for 6 months. But I found out in practice that a lot of judicial officers shy away from imprisoning people who issue laws.
So everyone should know that there is a law.
Yes,
If
yes,
someone
okay.
issues a check that is
Oh,
sent to
Yes,
you,
yes,
then
yes.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. We've been focusing on access to justice. It's quite a wide topic,
Very wide.
and I'm very sure we'll come back to this again, and
wide.
hopefully we'll bring you back in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I didn't say so.
Thank
you.
I permit.
Mr. Wahab Shitu and Mr. Fred Zako, both legal practitioners. Thank you for coming on the
Thank
show.
you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're back to look at something else. Please do not go away.